At that time, I think Damascus was the only church in the community. I can't remember any other. So it's been a part of my life for a long, long time, and I hope it'll be a part of my life forever.
This is the center of Damascus. This is the center of the Linthicums, and we had 4 children, and they came through here and went to Sunday school.
But I'm a long-time member. I'm like Jane. I was born in Damascus and raised in this church. My grandparents were members of the church, my mom and dad, and my great-grandfather was the village blacksmith, but he is in the picture of the first church that we have up here on the wall, and he is one of the men in that first church. Levi Pierce.
Yeah.
First day I went to Sunday school, I went home and was asked how I liked it, and I said I didn't like it very much. And of course the next question is, why didn't you like it? And I said, all they do is say, God bless, and then they take your money.
Well, speaking of taking your money, I remember we had Children's Day when I was in Sunday school, and we were given this verse to memorize, and then I had one, and mine was, I had 3 pennies when the plates were passed around. I earned one, was given one, the other one I found. Why is it when it comes to gifts, a lot of people holler? I really think that some of you should up and give $1.
And another thing that was really nice in the old church when I was a kid, we went to Braddock Heights every summer. And the church would provide a truck for anyone that didn't have a ride, like the teenage boys or, anybody that didn't want to go in the car with mom and dad, or mom and dad couldn't go. And it was a wonderful day. It was, and I'll never forget them. I'll never forget the whole Sunday school going to Braddock Heights.
We all knew everyone, and most of the local people back then were farmers, but we could see in the farmland becoming housing developments and all this. But I think this church is one that really opened the doors to these people and welcomed here, and all of them felt that they were very comfortable here and welcomed by our congregation.
These families, they're like the reeds in a basket that are woven together, and they hold things together and they make sure that nobody falls out, but there's plenty of room in here for new folks to come in. Yeah. Right?
Well, one of the reasons we moved to Damascus after I joined IBM was for the good schools. But an additional gain for us was the wonderful Damascus United Methodist Church. My 4 kids grew up in this church. They went to the camps, they went to the youth group, they went and heard all the sermons. They just had a wonderful time. It added to their faith and it added to their circumference of Christian endeavor.
I've been told that Grandma Hyatt kept me in a basket while Mom taught Sunday school as an infant, and been very involved in it. The Sunday school especially came through it. Just at that time, it was kind of the out from being home, and it was the best place to be entertained and have refreshments and fun. Then I decided I needed to get involved, and so I ended up teaching Sunday school. And it seems like, as my husband said coming up here, you know that the church has been your whole life, and it has.
I've only belonged to the church, maybe 12 years, but I've lived in Damascus 78 years.
Ooh, you're lucky you're lying.
And the phrase that I would use is that this church has been a major center of influence all over Damascus. And we do love our town of Damascus. And when I came, it was to bring my little granddaughter.
Surely the presence of the Lord
is in this place. And she's 15 now, and from a baby up, she's been trained well. And the good old songs in Sunday school, Sunday school teachers. They're wonderful.
I came here, actually I found my beautiful wife here, and we were married here in 1953, actually in the other church, and where the thrift shop is now.
This was the church part where we had our wedding, and it's now the thrift shop sales room.
It's been great having the support of the people here.
When our granddaughter, Amy, was ill, and she had lymphoma, and she only lived about 2 months, she passed away at 4. But the church was so supportive of everything. And then with David, we had the same support.
We were very fortunate to have David at UCLA Medical Center, and went through some rough times, and we attended one of the healing services, and I just had a feeling that I'd never felt before at that when we were going through with that. When he got to the point where he could read notes and cards and want to know where in the world did all these people come from in Maryland. So it's just been great for us.
I know Ma has had diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's and lymphoma 5 years ago. To me, it was just something that just came to us. You know, we just knew it was going to be all right, and even if it wasn't, you know, we said we've made 50-some years. How many people get that?
15, almost 16, that's when I met at the bowl night, and I just dropped the other girls, you see, because I done had plenty looking around. I want one that can wash, iron, and cook.
So we just accepted the fact that, you know, and so he's doing real good.
Music has been such an integral part of the church, and it's one of the reasons I think so many people are drawn to the church originally and really love it. So many youth up there in the youth choir, it just makes my heart sing.
I went on my first choir tour to Canada, and through singing these songs with these wonderful people who I love very much, I learned what God's love means to me and what my faith means to me. And so through singing these songs, I remember that, and every year, choir tour helps me grow a little bit in my faith.
The kids get involved, and then that gets the parents involved with our church.
You talk about food, you can't help but think about Marianne.
Then I started into the food, 35, 40 years ago. We have a lot of fellowship.
Certainly has, and we've had so many friends, and we see them every week, and they're happy, they're being fed.
But come with a spirit of joy, come with a spirit of singing to celebrate a wonderful life well lived by a beautiful lady.
That's the one thing I was going to say at Ruth Baxter's funeral the other night. Ruth Baxter, we all know, couldn't cook a thing. But she was probably the only person that called me as soon as the turkey oyster dinner started up. I'll be there to peel potatoes.
I think the biggest thing that I can see in the church when I came to church is the physical building itself. The church was very small and very limited parking, to say the least.
Every time that we got too big for something, we needed to change. We needed to either enlarge or we needed to build. And every time we did that, there were always those who said, "Oh, we can't do this. There's no way we'll get the money enough. We'll never do it."
We kept the old building, which is where the thrift shop is. And I feel that it took a lot of energy and strength to make that decision to build over here. But in the long run, we can look at what a good decision it was because of our parking, number one. You know, if you can't go to a church and have parking, And you can look around at a lot of the little churches around that have not grown, because maybe because it's parking.
Right.
I think we're a very self-sufficient church. I'm sure that if we gathered together, we could take care of ourselves completely with all the good talents that we have people in our church.
Those who attended the groundbreaking for this building, for the sanctuary.
I happen to be part of the group that was making the what is now the Great Hall and Dining Room area, and Bill Frymuth and I were chairman, and we decided it didn't matter what they said, we were going to push on. We knew we needed it, and we did. And yet the money came through and did it. I think it's amazing, but we get ourselves in a pinch, and we get ourselves out of it.
Our son, we call him Jack, but his name was John Moreau. He was the first child christened in this church by Reverend Kessler. And somehow or another, I kind of like to be first, and so I called up Reverend Kessler and asked him, when was it going to be kids done? And so he told me, and I said, well, I'm going to get Jack in there first. It's the newspaper clip, but that day I had a whole bunch of people at our house for dinner before we came over here at 3 o'clock to have him christened.
Well, I'm proud to see so many men here. There's a lot of churches that have mostly women sitting in the pew.
Is that right?
Missions has been a big thing always in this church, whether it's groups that go to South America or Western United States, wherever it might be. And many of our members have been many places around the world.
I've always been proud of our church for all that they've done in Nicaragua and other places overseas. It's really made me cherish the church and want to give even more to help those type of causes.
It's always when you got a group together that's willing to work and then do something good with the money. I consider that a mission, even though it's not abroad.
It's a good thing.
And the United Methodist Women, I know, has been a backbone here.
And the United Methodist Women and all that they have done to raise and of course most of that money goes right back to the kids here at the church or different programs here.
You know, one thing I think sometimes we forget is the thrift shop in the mission effort. Because it's a mission to the local people to have moderately priced clothes, but it's also a mission with the money that we make. We give it away. We don't keep it over there.
I know I use the library that have the church, and it allows me to use resources I couldn't use otherwise because I just don't have them. And the local library doesn't have them. So only the church library has certain things that you use to develop certain church programs.
I haven't mentioned the cemetery.
Okay, Joyce, come on.
Well, that's a quiet thing. Yes, it is a quiet thing, isn't it? But we get many phone calls of people that are concerned about their spot, or they're thinking about it in their future. Many people facing their mortality, and then many people looking up great-grandpa and so forth. And I realize you don't see much of the cemetery from the road, but as you go down into the second and third parts, you'll see how many people really treasure where their relatives' bodies have been laid.
The service that I really enjoy is when we have our seniors speak, and what an impression I get from those young people.
As I prepare myself for the coming year at Maryland, I'm not worried. I've got my relationship with God right beside me.
And they're coming right out, and it's because they have spent their time in this church because they can do that, and makes me feel so proud for them to be a part of our church.
Quite often, we're given a challenge in the sermons that makes us stop and think.
That's an excellent point.
Yes. I've this morning, there's some forgiveness I need to do.
Right.
That's a great thing about Christianity, forgiveness. In the years I've been here, there's a wonderful, truthful spirit and maybe it's a Methodist thing, but the pluralism that is permitted under the spiritual leadership that we've had has just been so much for the community and for me personally.
You're right. Absolutely right.
I feel like that for me, it's given me the faith to go on with whatever happens to me, make the best of it, and keep going. And I'm up to that, and I'm doing it.
Each have our own talents, and together we can do it all.
It's the people that we see and have a chance to see on Sunday and worship with them together, and it just means a lot to me, the other people that's here.
Because you have promised faithfully to serve the Lord Jesus.
The biggest impact for me is it keeps strengthening my faith week after week after week.
I think your whole week somehow just doesn't seem to go right if we haven't been here on Sunday morning. Just the comradeship, the uplifting of your friends, and the support, good times and bad, has meant so much to our family.
I think it's a long week if you don't go to church. If you don't go to church, then it seems like the week just takes longer to get going. It's longer because you didn't.
Either that or a lost week, you know.
Yeah, it's kinda, I don't know.
I mean, you say to yourself, hey, why is the week different? Oh, hey, I did go to church. Hey, it's not starting right.
What would we do if we didn't have this church?
Oh, yeah.
You get a lot of trouble, that's what you would.
Yes. Well, he knows I'm a troublemaker, so.
Trust and never doubt, Jesus will surely bring you out. He never failed me yet.
It's a foundation to my life that I have had to call on several times, as we all have, I'm sure. If you live this long, you're going to have some tragedy in your life. And it's just that flooring under me. I kind of visualize it as a floor under me, and it's caught me. I'll be all right with that foundation.